Yeah, we back. We back. Yeah, January 1st. Happy New Year, January 1st. Now today, man, it's going to be a different type of video. We're going to be giving honor and praise and veneration to the ancestors, to the forefathers, first things first. But today, I also want to use this video to drive my point home, something I've been saying on my channel since my very first video. When you go to my channel, my very first video that I uploaded is entitled, Black Men Must Understand, Life is About Power, Not Morality. And I'm going to use today's video, the tragic story of General Jacques Maurepas, to drive that point home. Now, General Jacques Maurepas, he died in the year 1802. He didn't live long enough to see Haiti become independent. He didn't live long enough to see the fruits of his labor, unfortunately. He died during the war. And not only did he die during the war, but his wife died. His entire family died with him as well. His wife, his children, everybody he loved, they also died with him. So today we're going to pay homage to General Jacques Maurepas. I feel like we always talk about the big generals, Toussaint, Christophe, Dessalines, etc., you know, but we never talk about Jacques Maurepas. So today I'm going to use today to give honor and praise to the ancestor who never really gets spoken about. Not wasting no time, take a look up on the screen. General Jacques Maurepas was the commander of the town of Port-de-Paix in the northeast of the French colony of Saint-Domingue, which is now Haiti, at the time when Napoleon Bonaparte sent a large army to overthrow Toussaint Louverture. Louverture, who had been busy drafting men and purchasing large quantities of weapons from U.S. merchants ever since he had been informed of the likelihood of an expedition in December 1801, sent orders to his subordinates to oppose the French landings in each port of the colony. If unsuccessful, his generals would conduct a fighting retreat, burning everything as they went, so to deny the French crucial supplies. Once inland, they would hold out by relying on the guerrilla methods that had proved successful against the previous Spanish and British invaders. Louverture hoped that tropical fevers, which reached their peak during the summer rainy season when mosquitoes were most numerous, would decimate the French army, allowing for a counterattack in late 1802. Louverture also gave his subordinates carte blanche to do as they wish with white colonists, an indirect way to call for their physical extermination. Louverture's orders were obeyed only in part. General Jacques Maurepas inflicted several losses on the French before retreating inland. The city of Léogane was also burned, but the French were able to seize Fort Liberté and Port-au-Prince. What the slaves lacked in proper uniforms, they overcame with suicidal fanaticism. The long years of toiling in the cane fields had transformed Toussaint's men into an army of virtual superhumans. They could live for months on a piece of salted cod and a tablespoon of rum a day. On these meager rations, the rebels often marched 60 miles a day. The French general, Pamphile de Lacroix, wrote admiringly, "No European army was ever better disciplined than Toussaint's troops." The die-hard army consisted of 20,650 men, divided into 3 geographically based divisions. In the north, General Henry Christophe defended the country's largest port with 4,800 men. A soldier since birth, Christophe had fought as a drummer boy in the American Revolution with the Chasseurs Volontaires de Saint-Domingue. In stark comparison to Christophe was the brutal General Dessalines, commander of the island southwest. Reared on a plantation, the tyrannical general faced a steady diet of whippings and torture throughout his life, which stoked the fires of racial hatred within his heart. With a division of 11,650 soldiers, Dessalines represented Toussaint's most able and ruthless lieutenant. On January 29, 1802, the French fleet pulled into Samana Bay. Watching from the undefended shoreline, Toussaint knew that there was only one way to defeat such a force. The rebel leader dispatched his fastest horsemen to the camps of Christophe, Dessalines, and Paul Louverture with plans for the resistance. The message read, "Do not forget, while waiting for the rainy season, which will rid us of our foes, that we have no other resource than destruction and fire. Tear up the roads with shot, throw corpses and horses into all the fountains, burn and annihilate everything." French General Charles Leclerc needed to envelop the rebels to stop them from disappearing into the jungles. If the insurgents escaped, the war might linger for years. To thwart Christophe's retreat, Leclerc feigned a diplomatic parley, and French General Rochambeau and a naval squadron blasted nearby Fort-de-Paix to gravel. Under the thunderous roar of the slaves' cannons, French General Rochambeau and 4,000 men assaulted the narrow fortified peninsula of land in rowboats. Cannonballs flew through the air while the force rode closer to the shore. Braving a storm of musket fire, Rochambeau's troops scaled the walls and slaughtered the defenders. With Fort-de-Paix in French control, Rochambeau sealed off Christophe's retreat to the southeast. To provoke the general's surrender, French General Charles Leclerc dispatched a message to Christophe. He warned him, "Unless you surrender, 15,000 men will be disembarking tomorrow. I hold you responsible for whatever might take place." Christophe fired back in unflinching response. He said, "The French will march here only across piles of ashes, and that ground will burn under their feet," he said. "Even on those cinders, I shall continue to fight." The reply horrified the French general. If the slaves destroyed Haiti's infrastructure, the island would be useless as a moneymaker. To stop the destruction, Leclerc moved on to the capital of Cap Français with the coordinated land and sea offensive. While the fighting raged, Leclerc received letters detailing the slaves' crumbling resistance. Toussaint's brother Paul had surrendered the eastern half of the island without firing a shot. The Creole South under General Jean-François Laplume had not only capitulated to the onslaught, but also joined the French. Only the defense of the northern city of Port-de-Paix, led by Black General Jacques Maurepas and his 9th Regiment, continued Toussaint's hopes. The last vestige of a French colonial demi-brigade, the 9th Regiment represented the rebels' most professional fighting force. On the morning of February 10th, the regiment met General Jean-Joseph Humbert's 1,500 soldiers of the line at the city gates. Both sides formed European-style ranks and exchanged musket volleys. The slaves pounded Humbert's men with shots while irregulars set fire to the city, burning it to ash. With the town destroyed, Maurepas withdrew, leaving behind 400 French corpses. Jacques Maurepas was one of the Haitian commanders tasked by Toussaint Louverture with defending the colony, in his case, the town of Port-de-Paix. Faced with a French landing, Maurepas burned the town to the ground and withdrew for an effective guerrilla resistance in the mountains. But he eventually came to terms with the French, as did other Haitian officers, Toussaint Louverture included, reintegrating forces back into the French on the understanding that all of the liberty, equality, and fraternity stuff would at least extend as far as not reintroducing slavery. Now, time out. Why do I tell you guys that morality does not exist? You see, Jacques Maurepas, his downfall was the fact that he really believed that morality existed. Because when the French army came, they did not come saying that we are going to reinstate slavery. They came saying that we are here to promote, liberty and equality and fraternity, right? They used deception. They didn't come in and being honest. They were trying to deceive. They were trying to deceive our people by saying we are coming to, defend liberty and democracy and equality and fraternity. And unfortunately, you had men like Toussaint Louverture who actually believed them. And he was bamboozled and he was arrested and he was killed. You had men like Jacques Maurepas who believed them and actually ended up coming to terms with the French. Now, let's continue. Let's continue on the story of Jacques Maurepas. Before the arrival of French General Charles Leclerc, Toussaint Louverture had ordered Maurepas to take the most vigorous resistance to all vessels which would appear before Port-de-Paix, and in case he was not strong enough, burn the city to the ground and afterward withdraw to the mountains. Take with him ammunition of all kinds, there to defend himself to the death. On February 12, 1802, suspecting that the French expedition was about to land in the city, Maurepas burned the city down and retreated to a nearby mountain named Les Trois Pavillons. When French General Humbert arrived, he saw the city in flames. On February 13th, Humbert marched against Maurepas, but was completely defeated. When Charles Leclerc heard this terrible news, he sent by sea General de Bell against Maurepas, who defeated de Bell's army again. However, Maurepas, instead of continuing to fight, surrendered to the French. Now, I'm going to go into a written account of the tragic death of General Jacques Maurepas and his family. Not wasting no time. Let's get into it. The sea off the Cape was chosen to be the theater of an execution, unparalleled in what is called civilized life. For fear that Maurepas, who had gained distinction under Toussaint after having embraced the side of France, should join the insurgents, French General Leclerc had written to him to come by sea with his family and his troops to take the command of the Cape, which he destined for him to be as a reward for his services. No sooner had he arrived that he and his soldiers were seized and disarmed. General Rochambeau, the French General Rochambeau, ordered preparations to be made for a barbarous punishment in order to put the Negro general to death with his troops consisting of 400 blacks. It was also put in deliberation whether death should be inflicted on his children in order to prevent them from rising up to avenge their father. Now, listen, brother. Listen. It's a lot of reasons why I say morality does not exist. Now, let's continue. After having been bound to the mast of the vessel, Maurepas was frightfully insulted. His wife, his children, and his soldiers were brought to be drowned under his eyes. The executioners were astounded when they beheld a father fix his dying eyes by turns on his children, his wife and his companion in arms, undergoing a violent death, while they on their part turned their eyes away from a father, a husband, a general, whose countenance was disfigured by the tortures he was enduring. After being made to contemplate each other's sufferings, they were all tossed into the ocean. They died without complaining, in a manner worthy of champions of liberty. With the reversal of the order of nature, the father died last. He also suffered the most. Thus died Maurepas, whose character was a compound of frankness and severity. Thrice had he repulsed the French at the gorge of Trois-Rivières. He had at once the glory and the misfortune to go over to the French with victorious arms. The elevation of his soul equaled his valor. He preserved a tender feeling for the master whose slave he had been. he caused funeral honors to be paid to that master. And when his grave had been negligently prepared, he threw off his upper garment in order to perform the pious office properly. Among men of his own blood, he was a powerful chief. A spirit of order and justice prevailed in his life. His riches, which were considerable, were given up to pillage. It would almost seem as if so much excellence was subjected to so much ignominy, expressly to show that while black men are capable of any virtue, white men are capable of any crime. Certainly, my narrative is replete with instances which, beyond a question, prove that moral as well as mental excellence is independent of the varieties of color. Now, yeah, that was a written account of the tragic death of Jacques Maurepas. Yeah, man, yeah. And when it says his riches, which were considerable, were given up to pillage, that was because Jacques Maurepas was a very wealthy black man on the colony. Okay, he was a wealthy black man. During the revolution, he acquired a lot of property, a lot of land. At the end of his life, he was very wealthy and prosperous. And the French, they seized all his property. I forget the name of the general, but the general took over all his property, took his house, took his gold, took all his belongings, and just basically stole that shit. You know, they just seized it. Yeah, you know, yeah, Jacques Maurepas, he really believed in that bullshit the French were saying when they were talking about, you know, we represent, you know, equality and fraternity, and we're not here to reinstate slavery. You know, we're gonna integrate you, you know, into the fold, and everything is gonna be all cool. Similar to Toussaint Louverture, how he got tricked and bamboozled, Jacques Maurepas also got tricked and bamboozled. You know, he really believed that, you know, morality, especially from Europeans, it actually existed. So, you know, rest in peace to him and his family. Nobody really talks about Jacques Maurepas. You know, he gets lost behind the pages of history. But today I wanted to give honor and praise to an honorable black man, a very respectable black man, you know, who lived and died as an upright black man. So once again, rest in peace. Happy Independence Day, January 1st. And yeah, man. Yeah. It's your boy Never Card. That's Elaine back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash out up on the screen. And I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in the ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Came for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.